Listen up, hockey fans. You're in the right place. A no-hold-barred debate between two hockey fans. Stay up to date on current issues in the NHL, even the controversial ones. Welcome to The Debate Hockey Podcast with your host, Brad Burud.
It's time for The Debate Hockey Podcast, episode number 15. Tonight on the show, we talk Olympics hockey. With the NHL not participating in the Olympics, will you be watching Olympic hockey? We'll also talk about the Pac Pacific Division, 2nd through 5th separated by just 2 points. Who will emerge into the playoffs out of the Pacific Division? We'll also talk about the trade deadline. We're 2 weeks away from that day, and things heat up in trade talks. We'll give you our predictions on who will be going where. I'm Brad Burud with my co-host Blake Friars for another edition of the Debate Hockey Podcast.
InsideEdgeHockeyNews.com.
Topic number one on the debate tonight, Olympic hockey. With the NHL not there, some people are very up, some aren't upset at all. And how is the Olympics going to be when we turn it on this year and we don't see NHL players?
I mean, obviously it's disappointing. It's the biggest disappointment from a player's standpoint is the young players that are in this league. The Connor McDavids, the Austin Matthews, the Jack Eichels, the ones that dream of playing Olympic hockey and playing alongside the superstars. I mean, look at Connor McDavid. He probably would want a chance to play with Sidney Crosby at the Olympic level. It's I understand why they're not there, but I mean, it's a good opportunity for the players that have never played Olympic hockey, and it's always been a dream for them too.
You know, I look back to Vancouver and how fun that was. Mm-hmm. But I also look back to the last Olympics, and
Sochi.
I don't even think it was that awesome. And one of the reasons it was awesome is the time change. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was fun in Vancouver to turn the TV on at 8, 9 o'clock at night and watch, Canada take on Sweden or Canada against the USA. But when you got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning,
or
like
2 o'clock last year,
like last Olympics, it takes a lot of the fun out of it.
Yeah.
And when this was first announced, I was different than most people. And I know that's why we argue about this, but I was different than most. Because you know what my thought was? Good for the NHL. I'm paying, Connor McDavid $10.5 million, or $12.5 million to play for me, and I'm supposed to take 2 weeks off of making money off him and send him across the country with the potential of
getting... Well, how would you lose money if the whole NHL was shut down, no?
Well, yeah, but I'm still losing. I mean, it's time lost. I mean, you got employees. You're still paying employees for 2 weeks long. I mean, there's money lost by the NHL. Now, I know, but what it also does is, too.
Do they not get a cut of the Olympic revenue?
No, they get zero, zilch, nothing. That's the biggest problem.
I didn't know that. And they need to put that in the new CBA then.
Yeah, but it's not between the players in the NHL. It's between
the Olympic Federation has.
It's between the IIHF and the NHL, and the IIHF won't give because you know what? The IIHF doesn't have to give because they're having the Olympics either freaking way.
Yeah, that is a good point for sure.
And you know what? I think it's BS that the IIHF doesn't give. Because I think we are robbing fans of seeing the very best.
Exactly.
But if I'm an NHL owner, screw that if I'm sending my $12 million player across the country. A
chance to get hurt, too.
And he gets hurt. And then to top it all off, we've got to condense the schedule the rest of the year and play more games and maybe in a shorter period of time and risk more injuries because we don't have guys getting the proper rest that they need.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense if you're an owner or a league. Unless the IIHF gives you some considerations and revenue, and things like that.
But that
but
needs
they won't
to change,
do that.
Though.
Well, they won't.
Do you think it ever happened?
No, because why? What is the IIHF?
So you think the NHL is done in the Olympics?
I don't know. I don't. I don't think that. I think the NHL will be back in the Olympics
in 4 years. Do you think?
Nope. Next,
and when they're in Calgary.
Next,
you think Calgary will get the bid? 20 what?
I would love it.
2024.
I would love it, but I don't think they will.
It needs to come back to Canada at some point.
Well, it will. And it needs to come back to the U.S. too.
Yeah.
But
when's the last time it's been in the U.S.?
I was just trying to think that Salt Lake, was that the last one?
2002, I think, yeah.
I think Salt Lake.
Yeah, 2002. Remember who won the gold medal?
I think it was Canada.
Canada beat U.S. 5-2. Joe Sakic scored the winner. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
no, I mean Olympic hockey, and I mean Vancouver was amazing.
Oh, it was such a good atmosphere.
It was great, but But in where was the last in
Sochi, Russia, yeah.
It was not that great, was it?
I mean,
and here,
I love staying up. I mean, staying up and watching Canada
but
play.
A lot of people have jobs and they can't. And when you were doing that, you were younger.
Yeah.
You know, you could do that.
I was in grade 10.
You know, you could pull that off. But second thing with the Olympics is, and one of the things I think we're going to get to see this year that's pretty cool, and is, you know, when a family sits down to watch the Olympics, I couldn't name one Olympic winter athlete from the U.S. or Canada this year prior to the Olympics. If I thought hard enough about it, I probably could come up with a couple. But for the most part, most Olympic athletes are unknown until they do good in the Olympics.
That's why the Olympics are full of heroes that are born, for sure.
Yes, and I think we're going to see that in hockey this year. And I think we're going to watch some pretty darn good hockey. You know, people forget that, you know, there's a lot of NHL presence in this.
Russia's
Ilya
stacked.
Kovalchuk, Datsuk, Wisniewski, Rene Bourque, Ben Scrivens is going to be in goal for Canada. Mason Raymond. There's some NHL players in here.
Brian Giunta.
You know, we got some NHL players, and it's going to be fun to see. And you know what? I'm going to be different than everybody else on this whole year. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be good hockey, and I think heroes are going to be born, and I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the States don't even get that in 1980, these weren't NHL players. These were
junior players.
These were they were college players.
Yeah, college,
They were all college players. And you know, another good story that we're going to see this year is Wojtek Wolski, who used to play for the Colorado Avalanche, broke his neck, and now he's playing in the Olympics. You know, so it's going to be fun to see how the Olympics play out and how. I know who this year's heroes are going to be, and I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be fun, and I know people are down on it, and a lot of people aren't going to watch.
Yeah,
but I will. The time is going to be a killer, and I'm not waking up at 6 in the morning.
Yeah, like the U.S. played, the U.S. women's team played the Swiss.
No, Finns.
Or was it the Finns?
Yeah.
2:00 in the morning.
1:30 they dropped the puck last night.
Yeah, I'm not staying up till 4:00 watching a women's hockey game. It's just it's not going to happen. And going back to the heroes, I mean, Canada's got an interesting one. Derek Roy, long time NHL, played with the Dallas Stars, Canucks,
Buffalo Sabres.
He gets his first Olympic dream come true, and I like the Olympics this year because of stories like that. Like you mentioned, Wojtek Wolski. A lot of the players are first-time Olympians, which is pretty cool.
I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a fun time.
Inside Edge Hockey News, lighting the lamp and raising the cup.
Topic number 2 in the debate tonight is the Pac Pacific Division, with 2nd through 5th place separated by just 2 points, which is one game win in regulation, and
you're out of the playoffs.
That's almost unheard of. You know, it's kind of funny. You know, I watched Calgary play on Thursday night. They win, they get 2 points, they bump up to, 3rd in the division, and things are good. And the next night they lose to the Rangers in regulation, and they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's how it goes in this division. This division's packed tight, with Vegas leading the way at 76 points, and it's not technically, but pretty much solidified a playoff spot. San Jose sits 2nd at 66, LA at 65, Calgary at 64, Anaheim at 64, and 3 that I would consider out of it now would be Edmonton at 50, Vancouver at 50, and Arizona at 36. Those 3 are on the outside looking in, but boy, I'll tell you, that battle between San Jose, LA, Calgary, and Anaheim is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is what the last couple months is all about in the NHL. It's about can you get it done in the grinding stages of the schedule. I mean, you're getting down to the time where you're going to play nothing but division rivals down the stretch, and it's meaningful hockey from about January to April. I mean, for all these teams,
the playoffs have pretty much started.
Exactly, they've already started. I mean, you mentioned Calgary winning one, they're in the playoffs, losing to the Rangers, and they're out of the playoffs. You can't take a night off, and all it takes is a couple losses and a couple wins from the other team, and you're done. It's tough. Once you lose a couple, it's Because once you lose 2 and they win 2, you almost got to win 4, and you almost got to win double. You know what I mean? To gain traction where you once were, for sure. But this is what the playoff race is all about right here in the Pacific.
Well, and another thing when you're looking at this division too is with the playoff system the way it is. Obviously, the first 3 are guaranteed, but that wild card is not guaranteed. That could be 2 teams from the Central, that's where we sit right now with Dallas at 70 points and Minnesota at 66. That leaves Calgary, Anaheim, Colorado all sitting on the outside looking in, and it's going to be a dogfight down the stretch. And some teams are hot and some teams are cold.
But you look at Anaheim, how injured they were at the start of the season and where they are right now. Truly remarkable.
Well, they're 6-3-1 or 6-3-1 in their last 10, and they've won 2 in a row. And I like this Anaheim team. I think this team is finding their groove just at the right time, and I think.
Well, their roster's full of players that have been there before. I mean, they were 1 win away from the Stanley Cup a couple years ago. They're full of veteran leaders, and when you got a team full of that, when you look at a young team like Edmonton, they're missing that presence. They're missing the Getzlaf, the Perry, the Kessler, the BX on the back end. When you got guys like that, you're never out of a playoff race because those guys have been there before, and they're gonna get back there for sure.
And you look at other teams that we probably would have thought were going to fade out here a couple of weeks ago or struggle, and they've kind of found their way too. As in Minnesota at 6-2-2 in their last 10, and Dallas 7-3-0 in their last 10. Both those teams sit in a wild card spot.
But boy, if you're Minnesota, you can't be losing to Arizona.
No,
those are the playoffs.
Those are games that you got to feel, but they bounced straight back from that and beat Chicago 3-0. So it's topsy turvy, and teams are looking like they're in one day and out the next day, and it's going to be tough on these coaching staffs and general managers down the stretch. One team that I think is maybe on the struggling end of this is the San Jose, who's 4-4-2 in their last 10.
Well, they barely beat Edmonton last night. I watched that game,
and it was kind of an ugly performance against Edmonton, and they ended up squeaking out a 6-4 win. And
Edmonton started Al Montoya, and the Sharks jumped on them, went up 3-0. Edmonton comes back, they go ahead 4-3, and I'm saying, are San Jose really going to lose this game up 3-0? Yeah. They finally battled back. That would have been a
mental destroyer for them too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they battled back, and then they scored the 5th goal with 2.5 minutes to go, and they held on for that win. But boy, those got a little hairy last night for sure.
When you look at the Kings in the Pacific Division, and they're 6-4-0 in their last 10, but I still think that team is trending downward.
The Kings started 10-2, and everyone, the Kings are back. No, I have not bought the Kings once so far all season long. Here's why. They're getting old. Their core is very old, and they got no cap space
which doesn't bode well down the stretch.
Exactly. Kopitar is going to be, or Doughty, he's a free agent in a year and a half. Quick isn't getting any younger. He's been injury prone the last couple of years, and they got no cap to add people at the deadline unless they free up some cap, which I don't really see happening. Which leaves Calgary and Anaheim to see if they make a splash at the deadline.
Calgary is an interesting team right now. They're 3-3-4 in their last 10, but that's points in 7 of their last 10. So
yeah.
I guess I wouldn't say that Calgary's playing great hockey, but they're playing good enough right now to gain points. So they're keeping themselves in.
Such a hilly team.
I know. I don't know what to expect.
The team wins 7 in a row, then they lose 7 in a row. It's like,
well, they didn't lose. They got points in 4 of those. But
how can that can't happen if you're trying to make the playoffs?
Well,
you can't go 0-3-4.
It's kind of funny because some nights I watch Calgary and think, oh, boy, what's going to happen? And then the next night you watch them and you think, man, these guys are like 1 or 2 pieces or a hot streak away from being a cup contender. And
I wouldn't go that far. That's a little bit of a stretch. Cup contender? They're missing a few pieces for sure.
Tell you what, if this team makes the playoffs...
Okay, what makes them a contender? If they go out and do what?
I don't know that there's going to be one piece for sure. You know what I think is going to be the biggest thing for Calgary? Is how things go now with Chris Versteeg coming back and how beneficial he was to their power play. The biggest thing with Calgary is...
they don't have right-handed shots.
If they can get all of their lines clicking at one time. It seems like one of their lines is always really cold. Like their third line with Bennett and Jankowski and them were really, really cold, and Gaudreau and Monahan and Furland were rocking and rolling, and then Gaudreau and Monahan and Furland fell off the face of the earth, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, great. Now we got a third line that's popping in some, and if they could just get that team rolling where they had everybody going. But
that's every team though. It's
absolutely.
It's so tough to get.
It's totally
consistent lines.
It's
probably hard to do.
It's totally every team. Mm-hmm. I just look at this Calgary team, and one of the reasons I say that is a lot of what I think with Anaheim. I still think Anaheim's probably a better team on paper, but when you look at those two teams, I don't think anybody in the Western Conference really wants to play them in the playoffs.
Anaheim?
No.
Or Calgary?
Either one of them.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody wants to play.
Because they're similar style of
They're going to be a hard teams to play against. Do you think anybody's going, oh my gosh, I don't want Minnesota in the playoffs?
No.
I don't either.
They don't.
Oh my
fear
gosh,
me. They don't fear me at all.
I don't want San Jose in the playoffs. I don't think anybody's fearing San Jose right now.
San Jose is perennial chokers in the playoffs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm just saying, if Anaheim and Calgary get in,
watch
out.
Yeah, look out.
You know, I don't know that they're
I don't
both
think
going
they'll
to
both
get in.
What's your predictions right now?
You know what I think is going to happen here? I think the Central. I mean, and I know that we're talking Pacific right now, but the Central is relevant in the wild card thing.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, Vegas obviously is going to get in.
Mm-hmm.
I think Calgary's going to get in. I think Anaheim's going to get in. And I think San Jose is going to get in, too.
You think LA doesn't make the playoffs?
I think LA doesn't make the playoffs.
See, I got the other way around. I got Vegas at 1. I got Calgary at 2. I got Anaheim at 3. And I got the Sharks getting the last
That's what I
wild
just
card.
said.
Or, no, the Kings. The Kings, sorry.
I
got the Sharks missing the playoffs.
Yeah. No, and I think it's between those two teams. And the only reason I'm giving the nod to the Sharks is I think
the Sharks, I don't know, their goaltending.
I like Martin Jones.
Martin Jones is good, but he hasn't been playing that good as of late. And Aaron Dell has had to come in, and he hasn't been that good either.
I'm with you. And I think Jonathan Quick's good.
Boy, you talk about the Pacific though, but the
and
Central
you know what?
We
might be a little ballsy saying that San Jose and LA are going to be the ones battling for that last spot when Calgary and Anaheim are sitting out of it right now.
Oh, so yeah.
We're maybe a little risky on those predictions, but I think that's how it's going to play out.
Both of the like you look at Calgary, they're so much younger, faster than LA and San Jose, which I think that's why they're going to finish second. Mike Smith's been good. He's a good bounce back candidate, and he's probably maybe a Vezina candidate too.
I don't know. I wouldn't know if I'd go that far. He was early in the season.
He's put Calgary back on the map. They haven't had a goaltender like this since Kiprusoff.
No.
Who?
No, that's what I said.
Oh, yeah,
they haven't even come close to having one since then. But I don't know. This is going to be fun. And when every night you look at the scoreboard and you look at the standings and you're like,
oh boy,
my
team's out.
Here
my team was out in November when Horvath got hurt.
But the Pacific's going to be a fun one to watch.
InsideEdgeHockeyNews.com. NHL news for NHL fans.
Topic number 3 on the debate tonight. Let's talk trade deadline as we approach 2 weeks from Monday is the trade deadline, and it's coming quick, and lots of talk out there right now, and let's see where it kind of shakes out. But who do you look at as sellers, Blake?
There's a lot of sellers. I mean, Buffalo's obviously a seller. Detroit, Ottawa's the biggest, one of the biggest sellers.
I think Ottawa's the biggest.
Ottawa's the biggest.
You know who I think is going to be the second biggest?
Vancouver?
No, I think the Rangers.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I think the Rangers are going to be big.
Well, they got two big trade pieces in Rick Nash and Michael Grabner, which you have to trade both of them. If you're going to go down that rebuild, retool stage, you need to get picks and assets for those. You can't just let them walk for nothing, for sure.
And 2 more I think that we'll probably see movement on, and I think you'll agree with me on this one, would be Montreal and Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. Vancouver's got a lot to sell. You got Thomas Vanek, who's a UFA, Erica Branson, who's UFA, and a lot of topic of trade talks have been Ben Hutton. He's got 1 year left. He's $2.8 million. And he's only 24 years old, which, I mean, if you're Vancouver, why are you trading a player like that? But he's been a healthy scratch at a late, and I think he's in Travis Green's dongos right now too.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at a guy like Ben Hunt, though, and he's not going to help a team on a playoff drive either. No. So I don't look at him as like a big chip in the bargain pool. But I know another team that might be a seller that I don't really know what to expect out of this team, and they might shock us all and be the biggest seller. But what do the Blackhawks do here? Are they going to tear down, or are they going to tweak, or are they going to?
I think they're going to look to move Brent Seabrook's contract at the deadline.
I don't know who in the world would take that. Name me one team that would take that.
Arizona.
How many more? Here's
Arizona's like the king for taking cap.
That's what I'm saying. So how many more crummy contracts can Arizona take on?
They took Datsuk's contract to help out teams.
To get more draft picks, to be 38 points at this time of year, be dead-ass last with no fans in the seats. How many more years can Arizona do this?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
This is like kicking a horse over.
But they're really the only team that could take on his contract.
Yeah. So what would be the incentive for them to do such?
I don't know.
I
couldn't tell you. Maybe get a first-round pick out of it.
So who are the buyers?
Oh, you want to go conference by conference here, or what? I think.
Let's talk West first. Who do you think the biggest buyers in the Western Conference are?
The biggest buyer is Nashville and Calgary.
I got Nashville and Calgary as 1-2, and I also think Anaheim's going to be sneaky, and I think St. Louis is going to be sneaky.
Okay, you talk about Anaheim for a second. They're very tight to the cap, so they're the only player they're going to have to go get get Patrick Maroon back.
That's the one I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. That's really the only player they can afford that would help them.
Do you know who is another team that I think could make a splash? And
in the East or West?
In the West, as a buyer.
Colorado?
No, I think Colorado's too young.
Well, if the right deal is in place,
on a whim,
yeah.
But you know who I think is going to go out and get somebody?
Dallas, Minnesota.
Dallas. Minnesota. I would predict that Minnesota doesn't do anything after their deadline move last year.
Martin Hanzal for a first and second. That was the most boneheaded trade I've ever seen.
I am going to bet that Minnesota just says, we're good.
Yeah,
we're going to go into the playoffs. We like where we're at. We like how we're playing. Let's just let's roll the dice with the 24 that we have right now. But
I watched the game Dallas versus Vancouver today, and Dallas just looked out of whack.
But you know what? Every team has that once in a while, and you know what? That happens a lot of times on Sundays.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
It does. It happens a lot of time on Sundays. But those are the teams in the West I think are going to be the big buyers. In the East, I think there's less of them. But I really think
Toronto's one of the biggest buyers.
I don't think so.
If they can find some cap, they are one of the biggest buyers.
How are they going to find cap?
Hey, they'll find a way. The Leafs always find a way to do that.
To make bad picks and sign Dion for $24 million. I don't think the Leafs can afford to do anything.
Tampa Bay, maybe.
They already said today they're not moving Van Riemsdyk.
Okay. What do you think about? I know you need a guy like that for a cup run, but if you're not gonna bring him back, why not keep yourself open for trades?
Do you really think that the Maple Leafs are gonna make a cup run? I know they can't tell their fans that they're not going to, but I don't see it.
What they did last year was pretty dang special. They took the Washington Capitals to Game 6. Nobody thought they'd win a game in that series, let alone take them to 6. They had a 2-1 series lead in that, and unfortunately they lost a couple overtime games, and they came on the wrong end of that. 5 of the 6 went into overtime against President's Trophy team last year. So
yeah, but jeepers, a President's Trophy team that never does anything.
Vancouver, simple. Like for that,
win it
every year almost.
You know who I think in the East is going to make the biggest splash? I think Tampa Bay is going to add to this.
I think Tampa Bay is going to be like Vegas and not do a thing.
You think so?
I don't think Vegas does a single thing.
So do you think? Do you think Boston and Pittsburgh does?
Boston absolutely can. If I'm Boston, I'm going and calling Ottawa for Hoffman. I'm calling Vancouver for Thomas Vanek. I'm maybe even calling.
Is any fan base going to be happy if they get Thomas Vanek?
Yeah, you say what you want about the guy's playoffs.
They're horrible.
Say what you want about him. But if you're going for a cup run, a guy that's $2 million that is going to produce down the stretch for you and get you to the playoffs, you're laughing. It's not like Vanek's making $6 million. He's making $2 million. It's an absolute bargain. The guy can quarterback your power play top 6 minutes. What?
I think Boston's going to go try to get Patrick Maroon. But I've also heard today, too, there's talk that Tampa Bay is trying to get Patrick Maroon, too.
I read that, too.
I think everybody wants him, number one, because he's a big body up front, but he's also got a great cap. He's a guy that almost every team can fit under. You look at other guys in the mix here, and we can talk some players, but, Nashville's hot to trot about Rick Nash.
Oh,
and
the asking price for him, though, right now, it's a first-round pick, a prospect, and a roster player.
No one's given that.
Kind of the same thing that came out on Buffalo, and I think both GMs are bluffing. Big time.
I do, too, and I don't think anybody's going to bite on that at all.
No.
I'd be shocked.
Minnesota bit on Hansel, but...
Well, yeah, but every general manager looked and said, boy, if I want to keep my job this year, I better not do what Minnesota did last year.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So... I look at the list of guys, and I can't help but think that a guy like Hoffman may end up in Calgary or St. Louis.
You think Hoffman goes to Calgary?
I do.
For what though? You think they'll give up John Gillies for Hoffman?
I kind of do.
Yeah. If they make a move like that that's the only way I'm trading John Gillies if you're getting a guy back that has control, and he has 2 years.
I kind of think that might happen. You know who?
Straight up, though? I don't think so.
You know who I'm hearing?
No way they do that straight up.
I don't know.
There would have to be a pick in there,
yeah,
or a prospect.
Yeah.
A couple prospects and a pick for Hoffman. John Gillies being the centerpiece, because they don't have goaltending prospects.
Do you know who I'm hearing? You know who I'm hearing all over Thomas Vanek talk?
Who?
Pittsburgh.
They always find a way to do this.
That would be a guy that they could go get, that they could afford, and he probably would be able to produce for Pittsburgh.
You put him on the line with Crosby?
Do you know what I mean? Evander Kane, all talk was, 3 weeks ago when we talked trade deadline, everybody was, Evander Kane. Boy, is that falling off the face of the earth.
I haven't even heard a thing about him. You almost have to go to the 5th page on Google to find, talk about him.
The only thing I'm hearing, and I got a couple messages on it, and it was St. Louis, but man, I just can't see anybody. You know what I think's happening right now, and I think GMs are looking at the Nash situation and the asking price, and they're looking at the asking price of Kane, and they're like, all right, well, we're just going to hold our cards here. Here's what we'll give you. But we're holding our cards, and we're going to wait and see until you give. And you know what? Flat out, it's the truth that the Rangers are going to have to give, and so is Buffalo going to have to give.
It's
going to do those teams no good to keep those guys.
Going back to the Rangers, Ryan McDonough is 16 on this list. We kind of talked about this.
What list are you talking about?
The TSN.
Okay.
The TSN list here.
Okay.
He's number 16 on the list. We kind of talked about this last week with the Rangers rebuild. I don't think he gets moved.
I don't think McDonough gets moved. We talked about it last week, and both of us said it would be stupid.
Yeah.
To me, he'd be the guy you want to keep to start the rebuild with.
And then a guy on this list. You remember, you watch the World Juniors?
Yeah.
Jordan Kyrou, Team Canada.
Yeah.
He's on the list at number 15. He's absolutely lighting it up in the OHL, and there's been a lot of trade talks that he might get moved to gain St. Louis an asset at the deadline.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's tough to say. I mean, he's 19 years old. I don't know why they would trade him. It makes no sense.
I don't know. I don't know about that one, but who's a guy that I think is going to be a great addition for a team this year on trade deadline, and I think he will get moved, is Mike Green.
Yeah, Mike.
Scoring defenseman.
A lot of
offensive
potential
upside
for him.
I'm hearing talks that he is rumored to be going back to Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I've also heard a lot of talk that he may find himself in Nashville, and Nashville's all in. This is their year. They want to win a cup in Nashville.
If Nashville goes out and gets Mike Green, they're definitely the team to beat. They would have 6 unreal stud defensemen.
I think they might be the team to beat right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Nashville's a good team. So, Blake, what are you thinking? Is this going to be a slow deadline up to deadline? Is it going to be... where do you see
the way it's gone, it's been kind of slow leading up to it, and then late before the ding, the bell goes to end the deadline. A bunch of deals come in. But
I think we're going to have...
But I think it's going to be slow because
I do too.
Teams are going to be waiting for the GM to make their move.
So I think it's going to be...
But if they do that, it could be fast because some GMs might not want to wait for the other team to make their move because they might not get their guy.
Yeah, I think right now... Man, you know what's so funny? I love deadline day.
It's going to pick up.
I love deadline day, and I get so excited for it. And we're going to do a couple shows leading up to deadline day. But I'll tell you what, if you look at history, it usually doesn't pay off for teams. There's more bad deals than good deals. But I think that leading up to deadline day this year is going to be a little quiet. I think those chips are going to fall in the days leading up to deadline day, and then I think we may have an exciting, busy deadline day this year.
Oh, look at this list: Kane, Green, Maroon, Hoffman, Grabner, Pacioretty, Vanek, Nash. There's a lot of good players that have potential to help a team down the stretch.
Hey, it's going to be exciting, and we'll talk about it again next week on the show too. But deadline day is a fun time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at the days when I'm in middle school, you almost don't want to go to class because you want to be glued to the TV, and I just love trade deadline. It's almost like the NHL draft for me.
Inside Edge Hockey News, bringing you inside the game.
Thanks for listening to the Debate Hockey Podcast. Check out Inside Edge Hockey News for all your hockey news. Follow us on all forms of social media and download the Debate on your favorite podcatcher. Check us out on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeart, and YouTube. Next week, we're 1 week closer to the trade deadline. Check back for more news, information on who is going where, and what teams are looking for what. I'm Brad Burud. My co-host is Blake Friars. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy this week's hockey action.
Inside Edge Hockey News on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Google+. Get connected.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Debate Hockey Podcast with your host, Brad Burud. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit InsideEdgeHockeyNews.com and on Twitter at InsideEdgeHOCKE and Facebook at Inside Edge Hockey News. We'll catch you next time.
This has been a production of Inside Edge Hockey News Radio, copyrighted and distributed by the Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.